digest the Bahrain Grand Prix. What's your own analysis of how the race went?
Yeah, it feels like a bit like ages ago now, Bahrain. There's been two full weeks to reflect on it, and yeah, my conclusion really hasn't changed. I think it was overall a very positive weekend for me. I managed to be on the pace of the car and pushing quite hard from the beginning. Probably having the testing there helped to just repeat a bit the procedures of testing and the driving and etc. I expect Imola to be a bit tougher in that sense because it's more a confidence track, a track where you really need to know the car to be able to push the limit. But at the same time, you know, I was pleasantly surprised, happy with how quickly I adapted to the car and how quick I could exploit the performance. I didn't put the weekend together because I did a mistake in Q3 and I didn't do the best of starts. But these are the typical things that with more races, they should come to us and I should be able to put more together. But the speed with the car, that is the important thing, was there and that makes me happy and confident going into the rest of the year.
Thank you, Carlos. Checo, coming to you. Perhaps we can start by talking about Bahrain. What is your analysis of how your first race for Red Bull went?
Yeah, I think overall, obviously missing out in Q2 wasn't ideal because every kilometer I do with the car, I definitely find progress, and that was important to do. I think, overall it was important also to do the race. We were close to miss it, you know, with the car turning off, and we had to start the race from the pit lane. It was important to get those kilometers, and I think we're making good progress with it. I think we had the time to analyze and go through the data, and we can already see a lot of areas that we can improve. And looking forward to Imola. It's going to be a very different circuit as well, so that will only help to understand better the car.
You say lots of areas where you can improve. Well, what are your goals this weekend at Imola?
I think to do another step in terms of adaptation to the car. I'm not there yet, so if I'm able to adapt this weekend in a very different racetrack, in very different needs, you know, has a lot of medium, high speed. Imola compared to Bahrain, very different asphalt. So it's going to be a very unique place compared to Bahrain, so it will only help.
Thanks, Checo. Now, as was the case in Bahrain, we have some fan questions for you guys, and we're going to start with this one from Gilda.
Hi, I'm Gilda, and I have a question for you. If you had a time machine, there is any Grand Prix that you would have loved to participate, and with which team?
Okay, guys, who would like to start with that? Carlos, let's come back to you.
Oof, difficult one. We need to choose one Grand Prix only, not a year.
I think that's what. If you had a time machine, is there a Grand Prix that you would like to have participated in, and with which team?
I don't know.
Checo, join in.
Yeah. Well, it's a difficult question. We definitely would like to be Ayrton's teammate. I don't know, in one of the races, I think he did a pretty good race one year in Monaco.
Yeah, maybe that qualifying, be his teammate, just to see the data of that lap. And what the hell did he do to go 1 second or 2 quicker than the rest of the field?
That would be a nice one to be in.
And in terms of which team, you're both saying McLaren?
I should say Ferrari, but
which team was he at the time?
McLaren.
It was McLaren at the time.
No, I mean the one in the wet.
Then it was
the race.
Lotus, no? Lotus or?
Lotus in Estoril 85.
No, in Monaco. His first year. Or
that he nearly was red flagged.
That it was red flagged.
Yeah.
In the race. That would have been good.
Well, it's opened up some debate. Let's move on to some questions from the journalists now. And let's start, please, with Alex Kalinauckas from Autosport.
He needs to speak Spanish, no?
Yeah.
I'm afraid not. That would go very badly for everybody. But it's a question to Sergio, please, and thank you, Tom, as well. Red Bull has made it's often made some pretty bold tyre strategy calls in qualifying to try and get a better race starting strategy. As you mentioned, you got knocked out in Q2 trying to get through on the mediums in Bahrain. I just wondered, is that a new challenge you're facing this year? Is it something that having that extra pressure in Q2 is a new thing for you? Thank you.
No, not really. I think we could have diverted the strategy at the end of round one, but I was pretty confident, because I lost 3 tenths just in one corner by doing a mistake. So I was pretty confident that I was going to be able to get the lap time. We had a little issue there in the brakes that we only found out later, and now we understand what went wrong. And I think without that issue, we definitely should have been through. And I think was the right thing to do. If you have the car and to exploit the maximum result, you have to be in the best possible strategy. And if that means taking some risk, we had to take them. And considering that we thought we had the pace, was definitely the right thing to do.
Thank you. Next up, let's go to Christian Nimmervoll, please, motorsport.com.
Thank you, Tom. Question is to Checo. Checo, Dr. Marco said after the weekend in Bahrain that Red Bull basically had 3 problems which affected performance. First of all, Max lost a part from his floor in qualifying, which didn't probably affect you, but did him. Then you had both a problem with the diff that cost, according to him, 3 tenths per lap. And he also said you turned down power due to temperatures. Is it fair to say, considering all that in terms of showing the true pace, Bahrain was not a very good weekend for Red Bull?
Well, we don't know the issues of other teams. I'm sure after a weekend you learn a lot of things that could have made your race weekend a lot better. From our side, we had some stuff that definitely could have made our weekend better in general. So as we can see, the car has good potential, and we should be definitely in the fight for the championship.
Thank you. Next up, please, Andrew Benson, BBC.
Thank you, Tom. This is for Carlos. Carlos, I read an interview with you with Mark Hughes just before Bahrain, in which you were talking about how interested you were to see how you stacked up against Charles in qualifying and what made him so special on one lap. I'm assuming you've looked at the data from Bahrain. Have you drawn any initial conclusions as to why that is, and what you're going to be able to learn from that?
Yeah, of course. You do learn after each weekend, and you do your analysis, your in-depth analysis with your engineers, and you try and understand differences in driving styles, in the way you use the steering wheel switches to adapt the car for each corner. And of course, I did get to learn quite a lot from Charles there, and to investigate a bit how he manages to do these very strong qualifying laps. But I must say that I was also quite surprised and quite pleased to see how quick I could be in Q1 and Q2. And I know that I had a good lap in the back for Q3 that I didn't manage to put together, and I did a few mistakes. So. Yeah, I mean, still a lot to learn, still a lot of races to go through, a lot of qualifying, still a lot of mistakes to do. I think to be able to learn, you need to do mistakes and then learn from them. But I think Bahrain, as I said before, it was a promising start, and I'm looking forward to keep developing and keep learning from the guy who, again, did an exceptional job in Bahrain.
Thank you. Let's go next, please, to Ed Straw from The Race.
Yeah, question for Checo, please. Like you said, there's lots of areas to improve this weekend. Obviously, when it comes to your own driving, how much is there still to gain in terms of you adapting, but also tuning the car to better suit you, particularly in terms of the behaviour on corner entry when it comes to the performance runs and getting the brakes and the rotation of the car when you turn in exactly how you want it? Is that the biggest area in terms of lap time that you can gain this weekend?
I think in general it's understanding how the car works and have that confidence with the car. I think I made huge steps in Bahrain in understanding the car. In terms of, it will be very easily to get lost and start chasing one one direction that doesn't make the car go faster. You know, we have a pretty good reference in Max, the way he's driving the car, and which issues he's chasing as well. So I think that's a key area. You know, try not to go too far apart, and he has a pretty good baseline in terms of how to extract the maximum out of the car. So I think we need to be in that operating area as much as possible.
Thank you. Next, please, Dieter Renkin from Racing Lines.
Thank you, Tom. Hi, guys. I'm sitting here in the Ayrton Senna room at the circuit. Carlos, you were born 4 months after Ayrton Senna's death, and Checo, you about 4 years before. What do you actually know about him as a driver, as a person, etc.?
Carlos.
Honestly, personally, I know everything you can know from documentaries, books, info from the paddock, just speaking to people that have worked with him or who had any kind of encounter experience with him. But obviously from his personal side, very little. You know, it's whatever you get from the videos, from the interviews, all these famous interviews in YouTube, famous documentaries that are out there, and those already do a very good job of making him look like the legend that he actually is, you know, and being back in the place where he lost his life is always a bit imposing, a bit emotional for every Formula One driver, because we know here we lost probably the most special talent that there was in Formula One history, you know, and when you see also MotoGP riders, people from other disciplines talking about Formula One, they all remember Ayrton Senna and how special he was. So yeah, I think every sportsman, every sports realized how special Ayrton was, and thanks to these YouTube videos, thanks to these documentaries, we all realize how different he was, how charismatic he was, and how special he was.
Thank you. And Checo, please.
Well, very hard to add anything there, to be honest. I think, yeah, he was a fantastic driver, a great character outside the car as well. You know, I admire him for what he's done out of the car as well. And yeah, I pretty much know similar to Carlos.
Guys, that's all we've got time for. Thank you. And thank you to Gilda for her fan question. Thank you.